Hi, I'm Shakti Durga. Welcome to the Goddess Speaks podcast. This is a collection of discourses from the ancient goddess Artha, containing spiritual energy and activations and discussions of those discourses. I hope that the teachings are beneficial to you on your personal journey of enlightenment. So let's have a look at the Book of Artha. She wanted to take us now to the time of the creation of the universe that we call home, and take our awareness to the breath of the divine that issued forth the creative wheels in motion, and to see the play of light of all the evolving stars, birthing nebulas and galaxies, and whole universes issuing forth from the one mighty breath of the divine. And she talked about how history, and I think she was talking about history way beyond what anyone on our planet talks about history. She said history's been full of life, as rich and poignant as what we ourselves are now experiencing. World after world has existed upon which humanity has existed, and that the Big Bang brought forth so many infinite worlds, including parallel universes, and universes of varying colours and flavours and shapes, in which the creative process is able to unfold in many diverse ways. And she talked about polarities bringing forth extreme creativity, and that the polarities have to exist, and because of that, not everything can be beautiful, because otherwise there's no creativity. And she talked about tumbling through time to where we are right now. And she said that time is not linear, but circular. And I don't think I said it at the time, but I certainly had the image at the time of the evolving of our different universes, and the one we're in right now, as a great big elliptical circle in which it was like day and night were happening in the same way as day and night happen for our world. So that the day would light up and there'd be life there for, say, billions of years, and then night would come and there wouldn't be life there. It would move to other places in this continuum of time that was going round and round. And it just felt like day and night for the continuation of life, and that it's been going on for much, much longer than we give time credit for, was the feeling that I got. And then she talked about Earth, and that this is our home and a place to be loved through all time. But every person, she said, also has been home in other places, and that there are many places that we've called home with our soul families. And she said we travel with the families, and that the soul family comes to know different and diverse types of places, and that she likened the unfolding of the universe to a dance that's danced by countless trillions of souls and beings, a dance of such size and graciousness that it's incomprehensible, but where incredible beauty comes forth from this dance. And then she repeated that because the divine had allowed for creativity and the duality that gives rise to creativity, that not everything can be beautiful. She says that history here on Earth has been a very interesting evolution, and that cycles of time brings forth different things. She said that the history of humanity was helped along by star beings. And I guess not really surprising, because how do you go from being an ape to being a human? You know, something seems to have intervened, doesn't it, really? It's a big leap. And she said that there's been beings popping onto the Earth from other places, and she named a few, like Ursa Major, the Sirian star systems, the Pleiadian series, and she said there's many others too. And she talked about the evolution of stars and planets and our own personal evolution having a lot in common. And she said to focus on the rays of light emanating from her jewel in the middle of her forehead. You might remember that she had this great big jewel in a crown on her forehead, and then she just started to beam light into all 7 of our chakras simultaneously from that. And I think that she was trying to really give us the juice of the discourse through the transmission of the energy. And she was very clear about not being an isolated presence in the universe, that Artha saw herself as one with all divine expression and feels great love for the vast countenance of all the divine forms with which she feels one. She said that that kind of consciousness is difficult for us while we're still on earth, because our consciousness has difficulty not being trapped into, she said, the suffering of different dualities, but even the duality of that's Durga and that's Isis and that's Saraswati. She doesn't think like that. And she said that she wanted to congratulate us for the work that we'd done to transition our consciousness away from blame and shadow into awareness. And she said it's only when we do this, when we really get this awareness of self, that true progress can be made. And she said that her idea of awareness existed on a different scale from ours. There's matters to do with Earth and the history of Earth and what's going on for us on Earth and the lives that are happening now on Earth that are part of what should concern us. But she said there are matters beyond the capacity of a human that's incarnated at this time. And that while we might dream or subconsciously receive impulses that are beyond us, it's best to focus on what's going on here on Earth. And she was basically saying that there's vast beauty that's been given to us to explore here and that we've been provided for really amazingly. And so she didn't want us to be going off-piste, another skiing expression, to places too much that are beyond life on Earth. And she said that in all of creation, it doesn't matter where you go, into which part of history or which star system, she said the most appreciated of all of the divine creations of beauty is the beauty of a human heart that has suffered and lost its way and then come back to love and has transmuted all of its darkness, lostness, and disowned self into the pure light of the Christ. And she said that this beauty surpasses all others and that angels are in awe of the beauty of a restored human heart. She also said that without spirituality being taught in the world in all of its various forms, humanity would be incapable of that kind of transmutation of the dark into the light. And it's because of spiritual teaching that this kind of beauty is possible. So I thought that was really beautiful. She said that we need to keep the teachings going because without this spirituality, it wouldn't be possible for humanity to retain the balance in consciousness that's necessary to keep the planet stable. And while she didn't say it, at the same time as that was happening, I was aware of what we know about avatars and how in times of great negativity and fear and all that sort of stuff, the avatars incarnate. And of course, they're doing that to keep the stability where humans are not being able to do such a good job. Then she talked about atrocities. And I think it was probably in light of what's been going on in the world. And last week, you might remember there was riots and all sorts of stuff going on, particularly in America, but other places too. And she said there's been atrocities committed in the names of all of the great wise ones. And she said power can be misused at any level, not only locally on the earth, but even in the greater cosmos. And she said it was for humans to deal with the power imbalances on the earth. That's our job. It's for the gods and goddesses to deal with the larger theatre of the cosmic level of power misuse, and we should not involve ourselves in all of that for our own well-being. Sounds good to me. She says that the events that are taking place on Earth now, and again, it was referring to the riots and so forth from last week, she said it's part of a more general lift and shift than was even discussed on the last occasion. And you remember that the last occasion she talked about transgender and the roles of gender and the change that's happened in gender roles since the goddess Artha assigned roles to men and women back in the dim and misty of Earth's incarnation. And then there was all the devolution of those roles and consciousness went a bit pear-shaped. But she said there's much more going on, and She said it's all part of the lift and shift anyway. And then she asked each of us to look at our own set of prejudices and to be interested in learning about them. And so that's interesting because clearly she was seeing that we all had prejudices. And yet, if we were discussing prejudice with a larger group of people, we'd probably say, I don't feel prejudiced. Our subconscious is a wild place. And I think that that's where she's seeing, because the divine, of course, can see straight through us. And she said, if we're interested in learning about our prejudices, divine illumination will be given for that purpose so that restitution can be made and forgiveness. And of course, when you do find these things within that you've never seen before and you didn't know they were there, and suddenly you have a realization of, oh my God, look at that mess I've been making and I didn't even know, you can feel really bad. But she said, energy will be sent to everybody needed to get us through that, and that we should remember our connection. Our connection is real to other humans in the world, even those who are not in our cycle and sphere of private life. So she was really talking about, the 60 degrees of separation. We say that everyone in the world is connected. She was really saying that it's not really all that accurate to say this has got nothing to do with me, those people have nothing to do with me, because it's part of the human family. And then she was talking about suffering of others in other lands and in other places and even in our own land. And she said that through the inner landscape and inner channels of spirituality, a great deal of good can be done to lift your spirits out of dejection and place your Shakti in action. And when she was talking about placing your Shakti in action, it was clear that she was talking about Kriya Shakti. And she even said that the form of Shakti or spiritual power that's needed to help right the imbalances in the world is Kriya Shakti, the power to act, the power of action. And that Mother Durga would strengthen us in Kriya Shakti. And Durga was another carrier of the Kriya Shakti. But she said all of the gods and goddesses hold all of the Shaktis, and so do we. And so we were asked to request an activation of Kriya Shakti internally, which is the power to take action. And she was talking about the theatre of the world, the power to take action and to bring about a better world for all of us. So she was encouraging the process of bringing one's pain and torment and feelings of blame into a transmuted state of golden essence and grace. And she said that when we do that transmutation work, it's really far more powerful than any physical action that could be taken whilst in the former state. So if we're thinking about manifesting good things for ourselves, she said, don't do it when you're anxious, but try and get calm first. And when we're working on global issues, that the same principle applies. It's just on a different scale. And when we take our rightful place in helping with matters that are going on this planet, we are transmuting the energies first from their raw state into a more hallowed state, was the word she used. And then she said, some will feel a call from the heart to be physically active in some areas too. So she wasn't talking about just inner work, but she was talking about all of us doing the inner work to transition our energies around anything that's going on in the world out of the blame, shame, judgment, look at those terrible people stuff, and to clean it up. So that was interesting. So that's my recollection of last time. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Goddess Speaks. If so, please share it with your friends and your family so they can benefit too. If you'd like to connect with me, visit my website, shaktidurga.com.